Call the Tuesday, September 5th, 2017 City of Oldsmar City Council meeting to order. If you will please rise for our invocation and our pledge, will be led by our City Attorney, Mr. Tom Trask.
Heavenly Father, we seek blessings on the tasks before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality. We pray that our work this evening will find favor in your sight. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and once again, welcome. We are missing two of our council members, but we do have a quorum, so we'll move on. We've had to make a few adjustments to our agenda. Our first item tonight is our Citizens Open Forum. It allows you to address the City Council. We only have a couple of rules. You state your name and address clearly for the record. You keep it to no more than 5 minutes. You can address anything that's on tonight's agenda, but if you are speaking on items 8, 11, 14, or 15, we ask that you not do it at the Citizens Open Forum, but that you wait till we call those items because they are public hearings and Snyder hearings. So having said that, does anybody wish to address the City Council from this side? No? This side? Yep. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Grace Babukas. I live at 302 Park Boulevard. I have a suggestion, and then I have a request, which is the real reason I'm here, and I have a cold, excuse me.
That's okay.
Suggestion, some of the cities in the Tampa Bay area are creating what they call e-commerce safe zones, where people who meet to exchange goods on Craigslist or Facebook or whatever have a safe environment to do it in. And I was suggesting, if it hasn't been discussed for Oldsmar, that we consider doing that. All you would need is a security camera running so that anything that transpires is recorded. And I think we have a perfect opportunity for it here in front of this building, in those parking spots right there or across the street. So that's just a suggestion to consider.
Okay, thank you.
Now my request.
Do you have, but before you get that, do you have any other information that you might be able to provide us, a little background?
I can tell you that Largo created them recently. It was in the paper, and that's what spurred my thought process.
Okay, at least it gives us something to go by.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Now the request. About a year and a half ago, I purchased 302 Park Boulevard, which is one of the old historic bungalows built in 1918. Half the people thought I was going to tear it down, and the other half were thrilled that I'm restoring it to its original state. It's a craftsman bungalow. I did take advantage this year in 2017 of the Fix It Up, Paint Up grant application program, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, and thank you very much. The rules of that program are that a citizen can apply for grant money every other year. But my goal has been to try to restore the house to its original condition by its centennial. And I'm disappointed Gabby's not here because she does the historic walk every year. I would love to have the house done by the centennial, which is next year. So what I'm requesting for consideration is that you let me put in a grant application in 2018 and then suspend any grant money to me until 2021. So basically I would be getting 2019 money in 2018, and that would give me the money I need to paint the house and fix the porch and have it done by the centennial. So that is my request.
I had to get clarified. You're talking about your house's centennial, not the city's centennial.
The house's centennial. They were built in 1918, all the original bungalows.
I was going to say, we just went through a whole centennial for nothing if it's not till next year.
We had that wrong, Dan.
Dan, you got to do it again.
No.
But as you know, 6 of the original 1918 bungalows are still in existence.
I wanted to buy 300 Park, so.
Right, right, okay. So that is my request, and I don't know if this is the appropriate forum, but I wanted to start here.
Probably a good place to start. I don't think we can give you an answer this evening.
Okay.
And
Where would you go?
well, why don't you just send me an email?
Okay.
And if you need to, I can give you a card with the email address on it. Or,
Sure, I'll be happy to do that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on this side of the room? Yep, Linda?
Hi, everybody. Linda Norris, 510 Oakwood Boulevard. I am here on behalf of the North Pinellas Cultural Alliance. We are finally getting our project here in Oldsmar ready to roll. And I believe it was Councilmember Saraki that suggested Sheffield Park. And we found a perfect place. Felicia and Sam and I went out and decided where we were going to put it, or where we'd like to put it. And we've got the call to artist out. And if y'all would like to go on npcainc.org, so npcainc.org, Ivan's going to put, oh, he did. This is where we're going to have it. What we wanted, our idea is that when people park and go into, park in the parking lot and go through the entrance, this is going to kind of welcome them into the park on both sides of the path. And we put the call to artists out. They have until September 30th to submit their ideas. We've requested that they do native wildflowers and native wildlife, and to make it bright and bold colors, because when you walk into the park, it's all green except for the playground over to the right, and that's all in primary colors. So we figured that it would be a nice welcoming into the park. We've appointed a selection committee, and the selection committee is one person from Parks and Rec, which is Felicia, one person from the Leisure Service Board, which is Suda, and then some people like me and Ken Hannon, Chris Hannon, and Karen. So what we're going to do is go through and select the one that best matches, and then we're going to submit it to y'all for the thumbs up, hopefully, and I can assure you it'll be beautiful. Okay. And then we'll be ready to roll. So it'll be sometime in October, because they have until the 30th to submit their ideas.
Yeah, and having not seen anything, I thought, wasn't the program originally for crosswalks? So wasn't that what we talked about?
It is. It was originally for crosswalks, but the 2 crosswalks that have been done already, I'm not happy. I don't want to say. Let's just say the less cars and traffic.
They don't hold up.
They don't hold up. And because we can't use the thermal plastic, like the lines on roads, that's thermal plastic. That's expensive, that's hard to do. That's the only thing that's going to hold up to traffic. They look okay, but they don't have that pop. Okay. This is only going to get park vehicles, maybe some bikes, maybe some skateboards. And of course, since I live here and I love art, I'll go touch the thing up myself if it starts looking bad.
Okay. Do they seal it or something?
Well, we can't put any kind of clear sealer due to, we don't want to have any liability issues. So what was suggested to us was to put 2 coats of black paint as a base to really give it a good base, then put the colors on top of it and use a thing called, well, there's different products, but it's basically sand that you put in the paint. There's one called Shark Grip. And you put it in the paint, and that kind of roughs it up a little bit. But putting any kind of clear sealer on the top, I wouldn't feel comfortable with that. So it'll, hopefully it'll last.
The location that you picked is perfect, because most of the traffic goes in that back area of that slide.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get all the traffic. Like you said, the skateboards and the bikes and all that go on the back end of this. So the location's perfect.
Right, and it's also nice that the disc golf is there now. So we're just thinking it's really going to brighten things up, and it's going to, and of course it's North Pinellas Cultural Alliance funds that are going to pay for it. So that's pretty much one of the reasons why we decided to do the selection committee, because other cities do that. They have a selection committee, and then it's not us putting a bunch of ideas in front of you guys and it taking a long time to figure out which one you guys like. We've put out the theme. We know what we want. You guys told us where you want it. We love where you guys want it. And
perfect.
Yeah, and then
Well, I
we'll be
like the
bringing
idea
it.
of putting people who are artistic in charge of picking art.
Thank you. So that's it.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the room like to address the city council? Seeing no one, we'll close the citizens open forum. I'll give you a brief mayor's minute. Some of the recaps for Florida League of Cities Conference. 4 of us went to that, attended the Florida League of Cities annual conference, and we were honored to receive the City Spirit Award, which was us against 412 other cities, or those that applied in the state of Florida, and we won for the city of Oldsmar for our centennial event. Also went to the Florida League of Mayors Roundtable, which has a lot of interesting dialogue about home rule and homestead exemption. So we'll have to see where that goes. Celebrate Oldsmar was just this past weekend. Thanks to our city staff for their hard work towards the success of this annual event. Friday, we had the Soul Circus Cowboys. Saturday was Stormbringer. And as you know, we had some inclement weather, but I think all things considered, Saturday night for sure was a great success. And as always, our fireworks were phenomenal. I think, some of the best in the Bay Area for sure. New this year was the food trucks and craft beer, so hopefully you got to enjoy that. I understand the grilled cheese was really good. We had a couple personal tasters. Also, I was excited to go to the Lockheed Martin 20th anniversary celebration of Lockheed Martin in Pinellas County. They're down in Pinellas Park, and they have the F-35 simulator down there. I did not fly the simulator this time because last year I flew it into the deck of the ship, so I thought it was safer if I didn't do that this year. So we mean business. We do our monthly visit with the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce. Acting city manager and myself went for August. We visited Tucket Enterprises, Fast and Easy Enterprise, and Nielsen. Had some great events. They also held a nice lunch reception for our soon-to-be outgoing city manager, Bruce Haddock. Upcoming events, the 9/11 ceremony. The community is invited to attend the North County 9/11 Remembrance Ceremony on Monday, September 11th at 10 a.m. at Curlew Hills Memorial Garden. Also an upcoming event, Guns and Hoses fundraiser. It's the annual Hot Wing Eating Challenge. It's going to be held at Rumba's Saturday, September 16th at 2 p.m. It puts our fire department against our police department. Also an informal retirement reception. Residents are invited to an informal retirement reception for City Manager Bruce Haddock from 5 to 6:30. It's prior to our next City Council meeting on September 19th, and it will be over there in the workshop and in here. Also, Penny for Pinellas Open House, Wednesday, September 20th, 6 to 8 p.m. at the council chambers, drawing representatives from the city, the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber, and Pinellas County to an open house to discuss the 2020-2030 Penny for Pinellas referendum. It's a very important thing. It's done a lot of great things, not only for the city of Oldsmar, but for Pinellas County, including this building that we're in was part of the Penny for Pinellas. So. That's the mayor's minute, and not on your agenda. And before we get into the council agenda, I would like our fire chief, Dean O'Neill, to come up. And he was just at a recent meeting in Pinellas County discussing the hurricane and give us kind of some insight, if you could, please.
Dean O'Neill, Fire and EMS Chief. We had the 5:30 flash report from Pinellas County. It was the last one we received, and we're still looking at a Category 5 hurricane with tropical storm force winds extending about 175 miles out from it. Currently, we're waiting for a change in the track that's predicted by the National Hurricane Center. Pinellas County is, we're not under a state of emergency in Pinellas County yet. We are monitoring the county OC has a monitoring activation at this time. Right now, they're looking at 3 different scenarios. Obviously, the best scenario for us would track shift to the east a little bit. The worst case scenario would if we had a track shift to the west. They think with the interaction with land, if it goes to the west, we potentially see a Category 3 hurricane come up the west coast, which, as we know from air modeling, that's the worst case scenario for Oldsmar, with an expected storm surge between 10 and 15 feet. We're currently working on our special needs evacuation, and those information is related to that. Pinellas County has not announced any mandatory evacuations at this time. That'll be a decision made once the modeling is created and once the track for the hurricane is a little bit more fixed, once it gets within a 5-day cone. This time they're thinking if there are evacuations, so we could potentially see a level C evacuation in Pinellas County with no time frame yet. They try to generally do that 48 hours prior to the arrival of tropical storm force winds here. So we're currently monitoring. The Emergency Operations Center, again, is activated for a monitoring level. The Response Operation Coordinating Group is now meeting twice a day through phone conferences with all of our municipal partners. And we've contacted here our task force group with TICO, the Sheriff's Office, and Public Works and Fire Rescue. In the event that we did see a west coast drift for the storm, because of the potential for it, we would relocate our EOC to our secondary EOC site.
Thank you. And we probably should expect something in the next 24 to 36 hours.
Yes, we should. And we've had some people call about sandbags. We have a sandbag site that'll be stood up tomorrow morning starting at 7 o'clock on the east side of City Hall. Depending on the need, we can open another sandbag site, would be on North Pine. We can do that in about an hour or so, depending on what the need is. We have sandbags and several tons of sand that Nan from Public Works has arranged for it to happen.
And it's 20 bags per property and city residents only, and a photo ID is required. So.
That is correct. And what we've done in the past, we're doing now is if you're a business owner in the city of Oldsmar, if you'll bring a water bill or utility bill that shows your business address, you can also get the same number of sandbags for that.
Okay, good. Anything else? Thank you. Thanks, and we look for updates. Good ones, hopefully.
Yeah.
But I think it's more about not as much the track so directly as it is the width of the the bands and the power of the wind. So at any rate, thank you for that. But before we're going to get out of our city council agenda and get into our CRA, we only have one item, and that is to authorize CBRE to prepare a request for proposal for marketing City Hall Goodrich property. Do we have any information on that, or do we just?
Yes, Marie Dauphiné, our Planning and Redevelopment Director, will give some more background on this item.
Hello, Marie.
Hello. CBRE is our selected consultant to provide commercial real estate services, and that's on an as-needed basis. So we're, seeking a development partner to design, construct, finance the City Hall Goodrich site. And so we're asking that you authorize CBRE to prepare an RFP for marketing of the site, and we'll see what kind of response we get from that.
I know we've had some discussion about this, and we've tried to do it a couple of different times, including on our own, but I think that CBRE, being, one of the largest commercial real estate firms in the country, if not the world, probably gives them an upper hand on getting us.
I think it'll make a difference. So assuming that you authorize the preparation this evening, then it'll come back to you before it goes out on the street for your approval.
What's the estimated cost of what they're doing for us? Do you have one, Marie?
No, we've asked them. They haven't really provided anything. I imagine we'll come back with a task order that's going to kind of itemize, what the cost will be as far as the RFP and the marketing services.
Because I know when we talked about this last time, and we've talked about downtown, how we've kind of gone back and forth on it a little bit as to whether or not working with one developer has worked for us in the past, or whether or not we might be better off approaching it where the city has a little bit more, I won't say necessarily control on it, but driving it, I guess, and going a one-off with this location and that location. And when we had that discussion last time, which I'd still like you to follow up on, was as it relates to their fees, because they would be involved in the process regardless. They're our experts, right?
Yes.
But just what the difference, the significance and difference between the two with their fees. Because, you wonder sometimes, completely transparent where the motivation lies to go this direction or that direction.
And you're not talking about the fees for this task order, you're talking about the fees moving down the road.
Just to get an idea of where we're at, because in the past, we've had limited fees into it, quite frankly. And so if we're gonna kind of charge down that path, which I don't think we've decided yet, that we want to go down the path of attempting to find the one builder developer, who's going to run the whole show. Mm-hmm. Like, because we've been down this movie down this road a couple times, and it's failed. And so, I do agree though, bringing them in will make a difference in what we get back.
Two things. Mm-hmm. We posed both of those questions to them. One is, should we look for a master developer or do it piece by piece? And their recommendation is to issue the RFP and look for a master developer as well, although depending on what comes back, it could still be split up. We also asked the question about the fees, which I don't think they're able to determine because we don't know exactly how it's going to turn out. If, it's just an outright sale of land, then, we pretty much, the contract dictates what that fee is, but we don't know if that's going to occur at one time over a period of time, and or also potentially some of it, or it could wind up with land lease and it's not sold, or so we've asked them the question, and I think perhaps when it comes back, assuming you approve it tonight, then they'll be here to.
Give me that opportunity to ask again.
I guess, because we talked about it today at our meeting, and to that point, I agree that it's rather difficult because you don't know what it's going to look like. Is it something that we could have them provide us? Let's say 5 people respond to the RFP, 5 different scenarios, land lease, purchase, whatever they do, and what their estimated fees would be?
I think, we go with their recommendation.
Oh, I do too, but based on what we get back, then they can also provide us
Yeah.
a cost, their fees to
When we're analyzing which
the
direction.
the RFPs, I mean,
Well, also, when you have the RFP itself to look at and review, that might
right.
clarify some issues for you as well.
Right.
Before it goes out on the street, it'll come back to you for approval.
Well,
And
I
depending,
hope their success rate, that this to me will be a great test for them.
yeah,
Because having served on the committee who reviewed the last set of proposals that came in the RFP,
Yeah.
it'll be really good to see how they deliver.
yeah, I agree.
The actual broker developer who is involved in this project, I've known him for like 20 years. His name is Hans. He's a great guy. I think he's going to do a great job for us.
Yeah. Well, they got, some, so to speak, skin in the game too, So they got a reputation to uphold and, so. You looking for a motion?
So moved?
Yes.
Second?
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passes 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll get out of the CRA and move into our consent docket where we have a couple of items. Approve the request to waive rental fees and personnel costs attributed to the Holiday Fun Armadillo Run. Accepted the resignation of Teresa Harriel, did I say that right, from the Code Enforcement Board. Authorized purchase of windows for the Cypress Tourist Center. Porch enclosure PB 17-0002E and approve the tentative agenda. If nobody wishes to pull anything, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Thank you.
We're going to be doing the two-man wave over here tonight.
I see.
I feel it already.
I'm relying on you two for the motion. You can,
Goes, I go,
you
he
can
goes.
trade, yep. So next is the presentation of the business of the Court Award. Councilmember Beaverland was going to do that, but Vice Mayor Saraki is going to do that in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Robert, you want to come up? Yes. Robert Dan Saraki, I'm taking the place of Jerry Beaverland. I'd like to congratulate you on your Business of the Quarter for September 2017. I'm going to read a little short story about you and your family to the audience and just give you a little bit of background. Our Oldsmar Business of the Quarter has been supporting our city and community since 1984. It's a family-owned business founded by Doug and Nora Hunt and has been passed down to their three sons, Rob, Steve, and Dave, who run the business today while Mom, Nora, still comes to make sure things are going right. Does she do that?
Oh, yes.
Does she yell?
Oh, yeah. She was just there this week.
Does she yell at you still?
No. Go ahead.
Okay. The Printing Depot has thrived along with Oldsmar and has now expanded after a co-branding with Fast Signs. This is another one of our family success stories that makes and keeps Oldsmar a great place to live and play, work and play. Now, you just moved, did you move down around the corner?
Picnic Street.
By, is it Amici's? You're right next door there? Yes, okay, yes. On the business side, the Hunt family has donated a considerable amount of printing in support of city projects. For Jerry Beaverland himself, you have been publishers of all of his books, which is a great tribute to him and his family. That was very nice, thank you. Not just because they do excellent work, but they also were extremely helpful in helping organize his publications, making them appear more professional than I know I am, or Jerry is. They have become good friends. They are also active in the community at city events, donating to Oldsmar Cares and participating in American Cancer Society Relay for Life events. Additionally, they are very generous in donating printing products for other community events. In short, they are a part of the business and family fabric of our great city of Oldsmar, and it's my great honor and pleasure to recognize the Printing Depot as our Oldsmar Business of the Quarter.
Thank you so much.
Here you go. All right, Rob, I'm going to let you see people out here.
Been here for a long time. Used to live in Tarpon Springs. When my parents opened a business out here, I just love this town. I wound up buying a house out here in 2005. I live off Timber Bay Circle West. It's just a wonderful community. It's beautiful.
All right.
Well, congratulations.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Our next item is our fire rescue swearing in for firefighter paramedic Megan Oliver. Chief?
My honor tonight to welcome the newest member to the Oldsmar Fire Rescue family, firefighter paramedic Megan Oliver.
Hi.
Megan comes to us from Manatee EMS, where she was working as a standalone paramedic, as a lead paramedic, and just recently completed the Fire Academy at Hillsborough Community College. Had a chance to talk to the training captain over there, and they started with 35, 39 people, and they ended up with about 16. And I had nothing but great things to say. And in the time that she's been with us, she's modeled some of that great talent with her work ethic and her skill level, and she brings a really good, strong EMS paramedic skill set to us, which we're going to benefit from. So, Megan, if you'd like to bring up whoever's going to pin your badge on.
Come on up, Mom.
Or you can bring your entire...
Bring everybody, whoever, bring your,
Yeah, bring them up.
Bring your entourage.
Bring your
Come on up,
entourage. We know they're not here for the meeting.
Yeah.
All right, hold on.
Let's let them get up here.
Always add one, it's okay. Do it now? Oh, well, let me go ahead. How about if we swear you in first? Yeah. We like swearing here. Okay, let's pose your mom. All right, please raise your right hand and repeat after me.
I, Megan Oliver,
Do solemnly pledge
do solemnly pledge
to uphold the laws and Constitution
to uphold the laws and Constitution
of the United States of America,
the state of Florida,
the state of Florida,
and the city of Oldsmar.
and the city of Oldsmar.
I pledge to remain ever vigilant,
I pledge to remain ever vigilant,
protecting our citizens' lives,
protecting our citizens' lives,
health, homes, and property.
I pledge to accomplish our mission
I pledge to accomplish our mission
through education, training,
through education and training,
and the commitment to accountability and respect.
and the commitment to accountability and respect.
I pledge to accept with honor
I pledge to accept with honor
the duties and responsibilities
the duties and responsibilities
of a firefighter for Oldsmar Fire Rescue, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We have Band-Aids in case they need them.
Yeah, first aid kit in the back there.
Yeah.
There we go.
I just want to thank Chief for and the department, as well as my crew. You've been nothing but great to me so far, and I look forward to serving the citizens and helping out my community.
Awesome.
Great. Come on up, we're going to get a picture.
What cruise is she on?
The crew are tied up on a call right now, otherwise there'd be a lot more blue and white shirts standing here with us, as we like to have. But we've got our off-duty personnel who are going to be here as well. Awesome. Mom, Dad, entourage, come on up, come on up.
Oh, my.
Are you trying to stop the glare?
Well, congratulations and welcome to the city of Oldsmar, Station 54. Next item is our city attorney.
I have 3 items for you tonight. The first item is the second and final reading and public hearing of ordinance 2017-11. I'll read that by title only. Ordinance 2017-11, an ordinance of the city of Oldsmar, Florida, amending section 5.7.4.3 of the Oldsmar Land Development Code to allow retail sales and display of automobiles, boat, and mobile homes as conditional use within a C3 commercial wholesale and warehousing district, and providing for the effective date. That was the second and final reading of ordinance 2017-11 by title only.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Does anybody wish to address this item from the public? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. I need a motion.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion on this item? Thank you. Just a little housekeeping. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Sidel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Saraki?
Yes.
Mayor Beavis?
Aye.
Second and final reading of ordinance 2017-11, amending the Land Development Code to allow auto sales in C3 as a conditional use, is adopted with 3 votes for and 0 against.
Thank you. Item number 9 is the approve the city manager employment agreement with our new city manager, Al Braithwaite. I want to give you a little bit of breakdown on this. First of all, this employment agreement was negotiated with the help of the negotiating team, which consisted of myself, Dean O'Neill, June, and Bruce, along with, obviously, Al's help in negotiating the agreement. I want to go over some of the details of the agreement with you. The agreement will become effective October 1, 2017. The current city manager will be in place until that time. The agreement provides for a number of benefits to Al. That includes his compensation with a base salary of $140,000. I will tell you that in a review of the surveys for other city managers in the area, this is probably under the average. So Al was very much in line with his request for $140,000. I can tell you that the city manager for the city of Dunedin is getting about $30,000 more a year, and that agreement was just negotiated a month or so ago. Al's performance will be reviewed annually like it is currently done pursuant to the resolution that the City Council adopted in 2003. The benefits, in addition to his base salary, will include health and dental coverage for himself and his dependents. It will provide for an annual physical. He'll be provided with the same life insurance benefits that current city employees have, as well as the city will provide him with an additional supplemental life insurance of $100,000. He will be able to accrue all of his vacation and sick leave without limit. Since he's already here at the city, there's no vesting requirements. He's entitled to, under this contract, an automobile at his choice out of the city fleet, consistent with budgetary constraints that the city has in its budgeting. He's also entitled to a 15% of his annual base salary to go towards a retirement product of his choosing. And the city, if necessary, will be involved in the establishment of an ICMA RC fund, which is a 401A fund if necessary. The city will also provide to Al coverage for his professional dues, for his travel, and daily expenses related to official city travel. He will be entitled to be paid for, the city will reimburse for the cost of the annual conferences to the ICMA, the Florida League of Cities, and the like. He will be reimbursed for job-related expenses. These numbers, I don't see that are going to be that high because, frankly, he's only entitled to what the budget would provide for him. He's also entitled to have his civic club membership dues paid by the city, for example, Rotary, if he was going to join that he will be entitled to have the use of a laptop computer, a mobile smartphone, and/or a tablet computer for business and personal use. The agreement provides for a severance package if, in fact, the city council decide to terminate Al for any reason. He would be entitled to the maximum that a person in his employment status would be for the city, which would be a maximum of 20 weeks. He would also be able to receive his accrued sick and vacation leave along with the COBRA benefits provided for employees that have left the city. There's standard language relative to, again, the performance evaluation, his ethical commitments under the ICMA Code of Ethics, that he will have his residence within the city of Oldsmar. And there are, of course, some requirements. The city will indemnify him under his job activities, as well as provide any bonding, or any fidelity or surety bonds if necessary. This agreement itself is very similar to the agreement that the current city manager has, although Bruce has been through a reiteration over the last 30 years. But in other words, I think there have been 5 amendments to Bruce's contract, but the final contract with all those amendments is very consistent with what is being requested and negotiated with Al in this current employment agreement. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions if anyone has any of that. But the purpose of having it on the agenda tonight is to approve the employment agreement.
For purposes of discussion, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion, questions?
Well, I made some notes on questions I had, so let me get them out while I'm going through these here. I do have a couple of questions, I'll joke with that. And you answered one of them in terms of if there was any material difference between this agreement and Bruce's. I did have a question, and maybe I didn't read it correctly, but just for clarification, under the provision of resignation, if he resigns, he's not entitled to severance, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
But he would be entitled to any accrued
Right.
vacation and sick leave like any other employee.
Yeah, it's earned.
Right,
Right.
that's right.
And on the 20 weeks, I see that, and I don't know that it makes a big difference, but I see that we give the employee the option of receiving that money as a lump sum or biweekly,
Yes.
and it's not typical where it's at the discretion of the company, I mean, the city?
It's, it could be negotiated as, however you wanted to pay it, but frankly, it didn't really matter on behalf of the city on which way we would do it. Sometimes it's a little bit better for the employee to have it budgeted, so he doesn't get it in one lump sum. And there could be some tax consequences as a direct result of taking it in one lump sum.
That was really all I had.
I don't think that'll happen, though, do you?
What's that?
It'll take 20 weeks.
Well, he's entitled to the entire 20 weeks.
Right,
It's not a question of will it be 1, 2, or 10.
Yeah.
It's 20 he's entitled to.
To severance.
That's correct.
And he's still entitled to severance even if we, and I'm asking these questions not really related specifically to Al. Well, maybe, I don't know. No, if we were to terminate for cause, he's still entitled to severance, correct?
Correct.
Because the cause is not defined in the agreement.
That's correct.
All right.
I think that's what happened in Dunedin, is that by the action that they took?
It wasn't for cause.
Wasn't?
No.
But they-
Didn't sound like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all the questions I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Danny, any questions?
I'm happy Al's going to be on board, and I'm going to miss Bruce.
Yep. Yeah, it's a.
Aw, that was a sweet moment.
I'm sorry, I feel like I'm turning my back on Bruce because everybody's down here.
Oh, well.
Nothing is phasing Bruce.
So upset about it, he's going to leave in another month.
Yeah. We got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0.
Congratulations, sir.
Congratulations.
All right.
The next item on the agenda, item number 10, is I'm asking you to authorize me to accept the settlement of a code enforcement lien at 3633 Meriden Avenue. And I want to give you a little bit of background. There was a lien placed on this property a number of years ago. The lien was for $5,600. There was also recording costs of $28.50. Since the accrual of the lien started in 2012, there was approximately $2,600 in interest that has accrued. There was also a small water lien on the property for $96.12. The property owner is attempting to sell the property. He has come forward and made an offer of $5,628.50 plus $96.12 for the water lien. And what basically he's asking for is for the interest to be waived, that $2,628. The reason I'm bringing this forward, asking for your authority to accept this, is because when the when the lien was actually put in place, it wasn't done in the form of a normal code enforcement order. It was done in the form of an affidavit of non-compliance, which was recorded. And frankly, I think that there are some legal arguments that the property owner could make that would put us in a situation where, we would have to defend the reasons why we use an affidavit of non-compliance versus a code enforcement board order. So there is some exposure there. So I think that with this offer, it's consistent with making the city whole except for the interest that has accrued. So I'm asking for your authority to accept that $5,628.50 for the code enforcement lien, as well as payment in full of the water lien of $96.12.
For discussion, need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions?
No.
Just curious and I know it's pretty typical, what's the interest rate that typically gets charged on a lien like of this type?
Well, right now it's 5.17%, and that's fixed by way of the office, the controller's office at the in Tallahassee. It's done on an annualized basis, and so actually it's done on a quarterly basis now. It used to be done on an annualized basis.
Okay.
So it constantly moves.
Okay.
It's 5.17% right now.
That's just something that's done by the state, so.
Yeah, so we don't have any control over that.
Okay. Motion and a second. Any other discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Thank you.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you. Next is the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 11, approve Medee Holdings LLC plat. This property is located at the south end of Oakwood Boulevard on the west side of the street. I'd like to ask our Planning and Redevelopment Director, Marie Dauphiné, to present the case, the staff recommendation, and the planning board recommendation.
This is a Snyder hearing, so Tom needs to swear everybody in.
Anyone that's going to speak on this agenda item, if they could stand up, please raise your right hand and be sworn under oath. You swear that the testimony you're going to give is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, right?
Marie Dauphiné, Planning and Redevelopment Director. This is a request for a replat of 4.137 acres. Currently, it is vacant, and the applicant proposes to divide the property into 3 residential lots. It's zoned residential, no, E2 estate residential, the land use designation of residential low, and that requires each lot to have a minimum of 16,500 square feet, a lot depth of 100 feet and 100 feet in width. This is also, a portion of this is in the coastal high hazard area, so there's going to be additional or more restrictive requirements with regard to the Florida Building Code when he starts to construct the homes on these lots. So the planning board met on July 12th and recommended that the city council approve the Medee Holdings LLC plat. The vote was unanimous, and staff is also recommending approval of the plat.
Thank you, Marie.
Thank you. Any questions? No. I'd like to...
Stick it into the record?
Yes, I would.
Okay, thank you. Anybody like to address this item? This is a public hearing.
The applicant first.
The applicant?
Is the applicant here?
Is the applicant here?
He's actually not here. I'm representing him. He's out of the country right now.
Okay, well, you weren't sworn in. If you want to step forward, did you want to say anything? If so, I need to swear you in. You swear that the testimony you're going to give is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, if you could step forward and tell us what your name is and your relationship to the project.
My name is Noella Bergeson, and I'm an agent with Medee Holdings. And I was just in the understanding it was going to be approved because it meets all the zoning requirements and everything that is required to be 3 building lots. So
Questions?
That's why it's before us, so.
yeah.
Yeah. Anybody in favor of this that would like to address the council? Anybody opposed to this that would like to address the council? Or any that would like to address the council in general?
Hi, Linda Norris, 510 Oakwood Boulevard again, and obviously 510 Oakwood Boulevard, I do have a opinion on this. The vote was 4-1. There was a lot of people at that planning meeting, a lot of people from Seaside Estates, a lot of people on Oakwood, a lot of people on Pine. There was quite a few people that went to that meeting. I would just like to point out that on Oakwood Boulevard, from St. Pete Drive to 580, there's not the median and the houses are closer together. On our side, when you go south of St. Pete Drive to Shore Boulevard, we have the center median and we have the two roads, and everybody has oversized lots. So everybody has, like my neighbor has 3/4 of an acre, I have close to a half acre. They're larger lots, and to put 3 houses, boom, 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 right at the point in where one of them is going to be in a coastal high hazard area, the one closest to the water that has water on both sides, it's not going to be consistent with our part of the neighborhood. There's a lot of people that didn't make it tonight also that wanted me to, speak for them, and I said, well, if you can't make it, then then you got to speak for yourself. So I would just like to point out that it would be much more consistent with the neighborhood if you guys just approved 2 houses instead of 3 houses, because it's just going to be 1, 2, 3 houses right on that. And y'all know that we tried to get it for a park, but things didn't happen for whatever reason it was, that because it's park all the way from Olds Park, all the way Sellers Park, all the way, it would have been perfect continuation. So short of, obviously that isn't going to happen because this gentleman bought it and it's got his constitutional right to buy property. We're just requesting that you change it from 3 lots to 2 lots to make it more consistent with the neighborhood.
Thank you. Marie, can we get clarification on the vote? It says 4-0, but she's saying it's 4-1. Do we know?
It wasn't unanimous. I believe it was unanimous, but I'd have to check. I don't remember. Yeah, usually, I don't know.
The document says 4-0.
4-0.
How many members?
Correct.
How many
And
members are on the board?
I don't think there wasn't a complete board. There was only 4 members, obviously. And even Dale Renboer said that he would have voted against it, but he voted for it. So maybe that's the confusion, but I think it's 4-0. I don't know who the person voting against it was.
Okay.
But it passed.
It passed. No, I'm just curious.
Right.
I'm just curious because sometimes it's nice to hear
Sure.
the opposition, but okay, thank you. Next, anybody like to address the council either for it or against it or neutral and just want to comment?
Hi, Janet Barrett, 513 Oakwood. I've lived at this address for 20 years. I've seen many changes, developments, and serious flooding on our street, as well as the flooding on this property we're discussing. And I'm not afraid of change, and I'm not afraid of development in general. I am concerned, however, of the impact of not only the ecosystem, but of the quietness of our little street. This passive street has been used by joggers, dog walkers, and bicyclists. People coming down the street constantly make comments about the wide open view in the quiet little neighborhood. And as my elected officials, I'm asking you to reconsider the variance on the property and limit construction to 2 homes to keep this street as the beautiful and quiet introduction to the bayfront that people first see when they come into Oldsmar. We did receive the City Spirit Award this year, which I'm personally very proud of. And this award was for bringing the city and the community together and to appreciate the present community. So I'm asking that you honor this award by limiting the variance to 2 homes. And I hope that you will give serious consideration to the wishes of your people whom you elected as your representatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address the council? Yes.
Mr. Mayor and Councilman, my name is Jim Stackpool. I reside at 155 Brent Circle in Oldsmar. It's the first time I've ever been on this side of the deal. I'm a developer. I've been for 40 years a residential developer in master plan communities in Florida. I was asked by a good friend of mine who has a property that's somewhat impacted by this to appear tonight. He's in North Carolina, so couldn't make it. And thank you to Maria for bringing me up to speed on much of what's happening here. As a developer, it's very difficult for me to oppose a developer, so I'm not going to dispute whether it's 2 or 3 units. What I would like to ask you to consider, which I think is very reasonable and will have no impact at all on this developer's ability to make money or not make money, is that you consider your front lot setbacks. The property has a mangrove fringe that is directly in front of the property. Your zoning requires a 25-foot setback from the mean high water. And unrealistically, this could actually put the house in the mangroves, which in this case, I don't think it does, but it's close. He appears to have, from what I've been able to look at, substantial justification for 3 units. So I think if you imposed a front setback from your mean high water and your mangrove fringe that didn't interfere with the environment, I believe that he would still have the same value in his property. In fact, I'm sure he would. And he'd be able to build 3 homes or 2 homes, whatever size he chooses to build, without any impact whatsoever on the environment. And I think that's probably the major issue here, is the front setback for those homes. And I don't think it'll cause him any problem at all in developing 2 or 3 homes that he'll make a substantial profit on, which he's entitled to.
Sure.
And I believe it'll be much better for the environment and also better for the gentleman I'm here representing in terms of his view.
I have a statement, and then just a clarification. When you say the front, but you also refer to the mangroves, are you talking about the front as in the street front?
No, I'm talking about the waterfront front.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So the rear
there's a
setback.
substantial mangrove.
That is for clarity.
Yeah.
The rear of the house.
And you know what the average means back there is, right?
I'm sorry, sir.
Do you know where the average means, high tide means is back there? When you're talking about the setback?
What the elevation is, you mean?
No. When you go to do the setback, it's based on the average high tide means, right?
Right,
I'm
well,
talking about where you know that, where that actually ends up.
That's what I'm talking about, the elevation of that average, right?
Yeah, it's right on, I mean, I don't know that property, but I live down the street, and it is. So the full setback essentially would probably be right from the edge of the shore.
Well, I'm not sure. The edge of the shore is not a legal term, so I don't know what that means. But what I'm saying,
where the water comes up, that's where it would likely be.
Okay, and then to that, and then just for clarification, that would be something that would be handled by a Board of Adjustments for a variance request, that the applicant would have to apply for and request that the Board of Adjustments consider that request. That's not something that we would do tonight.
No, I understand that. And as I also understand, he has not submitted any kind of a plat yet. The developer has not submitted a plat of the property, so I don't know that you actually know where he intends to put these 3 homes or how far he intends to set them back. So is that correct?
Site plan, yeah. I believe that is correct.
Okay. Is that correct? Yeah. So all I'm asking is that when he does submit a plat, he's got ample room to have 3, he's got ample property there to have 3 homes. And I would ask you to consider setting back his property as far as you can from the mean high tide water line, which also includes mangroves, which are environmentally sensitive. That's all I'm asking.
And again, as according to my attorney, and you can elaborate, but that would be something that he would have to initiate through our Board of Adjustments that would then review it and decide if he could get the variance or not. So, and it would really be a variance.
Well, you don't really know where that's going to go, but your discussion about setbacks is not part of what the council's considering tonight. They're considering replatting this into 3 lots, and setbacks have nothing to do with the action before them.
Well, then I'm sorry. Sorry to waste your time.
No, it's fine.
No, it's good dialogue, and to inform them, and if you talk to the people that you're talking to, or, somebody's here for the applicant, they've heard what's been said, so I guess we kind of got to wait to see what gets.
Well, I guess at what point? Because I have attorneys that work for me too, so I can hire actually I'd get a pro bono. So can the city attorney tell me at what point I should raise this issue?
What my suggestion is that you keep in contact with the Planning and Redevelopment Department, and they can keep you apprised as to how that's being processed, the site plan is being processed. But that's how you need to keep track of it. Contact the Planning and Redevelopment Department.
Okay, thank you.
I don't really have any other direction I can give you. I don't know the time frame of the developer, or what they're going to do when. He may sit on it for 10 years before he brings it.
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen in this economy. You know that.
Probably not, but we don't know when it's going to come before us. So.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address the council? Yes.
Our family has lived directly across the street.
Can I get your name and address? Name and address for the record?
Rich Klein. I'm at 606 Shore Drive West.
Okay.
I'm directly across the street from the property in question. And we've lived there for about 10 years, and we enjoy the peaceful, quiet neighborhood. I understand the developers' desire to maximize their profit by building on every available square inch of space that they can get their hands on. But some time ago, it was determined by the Oldsmar Planning Board that the property should be zoned for a maximum of 2 houses, and they did this for a reason. The quality of life encourages people to move to Oldsmar. Oakwood and Shore Drive offer people the serenity and community Oldsmar is known for. The protected environment of the area would be endangered by reversing the decision of the Oldsmar Planning Board. In 1950, Oakwood Boulevard had 1 house at the location, and since then, 2 more houses have been added to the entire side of the street of Oakwood Boulevard. So since 1950, there have been no more than 3 houses on the entire side of the block. The proposed zoning change would double the number of houses on the block. As long-term neighbors and residents of we will be directly affected by the zoning decision, and we strongly are against overdeveloping this particular parcel. We respectfully ask that the zoning declaration for 2 houses be adhered to. Densely populating this pristine coastal area will have a severe negative impact on the residents of the neighborhood. Traffic. Adding additional houses to the quiet residential neighborhood would infuse the number of cars emitting undesirable carbon dioxide, disturbing the environmental balance of the beautiful area. The street is not designed for all this congestion. The serenic beauty of Oakwood and Shore Drive will be disturbed by the addition of cars, RVs, boats parked on the driveways or on the yards. This will create unsightly elements to what is a beautiful piece of property. The waterfront. Each new homeowner may want a dock, a boat, a jet ski, causing more disruption to the bay and the wildlife that resides there. At this time, the canal area is fairly quiet. Adding docks, jet ski, and boats will corrupt the balance of the ecosystem. The manatee and dolphins that make this area their home may have to relocate, and the residents will lose the part of the beauty of what their homes were purchased for. The noise. The noise impact from an increased population will be another disruption to our peaceful way of life. Construction will disrupt the neighborhood, the view. Having more houses ruins the beautiful view and a good part of the reason we chose to live here. The environmental damage. There are old established trees on the property that will be destroyed by the development of the property. That will displace and possibly kill the birds and other wildlife that make these trees their home. A lower quality of life. Many longtime residents choose to live here because of the small hometown feel. Developing more homes, more housing in the area that was always intended for a small town will lower the quality of life and the value of the residents on the block. Our family and my fellow neighbors all agree that we do not want the proposed zoning to be changed. Please respect the wishes of the zoning and planning board and long-term residents of the neighborhood and keep Oldsmar the way it was meant to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Just for clarification, Marie, this isn't a request for rezoning, correct?
It's not a variance.
I'm sorry?
No, it's not a rezoning.
And it's not a variance
And it's-
either, actually.
right, correct.
It's just replatting.
I got it. Just for the record, the discussion was, at the podium, was that it was a rezoning, so it is not that. Anybody else like to address the council? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. There's a Snyder hearing. I need a motion for discussion purposes.
So move.
Need a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion on this item?
Mayor, I have a couple questions for the applicant. Would you want to come up, or do I just want to ask her here?
You probably should have asked when she was up there, but.
I didn't.
Okay.
Until after the presentation of the residents, I have a
Okay, that's
couple
fine.
questions. That property, lived here since '95. That property tends to flood quite a bit. I've seen it flood. Could you have any idea what kind of homes the developer plans on building?
Well, I know that he's a civil engineer by trade. He's also a GC, so he's already done the survey. Each lot is going to have over an acre, so it's not going to be a small lot. They're each going to be over an acre. So he's going to make sure that there's a drainage plan. I think there's a mandatory drainage plan that needs to be done. He's going to take an account of the mangroves. And right now doesn't have any plans in store for but they are going to be single family homes, really nice homes. So it's not going to bring down the value of the neighborhood. We're not building condominiums, so it's really not going to impede on the traffic. Nothing's set in stone yet.
Okay,
So
do you know, are they going to be stilt homes or you don't know?
they're not going to be still, no, but they are going to be built up,
They'll have to be
obviously.
built like a lot of them that are being
Okay.
built out of, like the ones on Park at
Right, with the-
500 Park.
Garage underneath, and then probably a couple stories. The one on the end, the finger, is going to has to be with pilings because it's in a velocity zone. So he's done his research, and he knows how to build and not to impact the environment. And he's really taking that into consideration.
Thank you very much. That's all I have, Mayor. Eric, you have any?
Remember?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. If I could ask Marie to come up, I want to clarify something because I think there's some confusion either that or I'm confused. Is it the current designation in that area that one is allowed up to 5 units per acre?
Yes, it's residential low, which permits up to 5 units per acre, so, and it's a 4-point-something acre parcel.
0.17.
So I'm not sure where the confusion was, just misspoke where it was intended to be 2 acres, because I think it's.
I don't know where that came from. I don't recall anything.
Well, I mean, the zoning of it, I mean, here's the thing for me, Mr. Mayor. And I, like a lot of other people in this room, really wished we could have bought that property.
Yeah.
Right.
Then we could, then we could have done what we really would have liked to do with that, which is consistent, I think, with what the neighbors in that area and the people who drive by it, myself included, who like seeing it. The challenge is, we're not asking for a variance, we're not asking for a rezoning. It qualifies for what's being asked. At the end of the day, and as much as I don't like the idea of there being 3 homes there, more or less 1 home there, it's very difficult to, with clear conscience, say to someone, here are our rules, you buy the property, and now we're going to change the rules, when all you're asking to do is replat it. That shouldn't really be an issue. It meets all the qualifications, and therefore, I would support the motion, Mr. Mayor.
And I guess in a somewhat similar but different thing, we approved lots on Shore Drive to be split into 2 lots for a similar purpose that is being requested tonight. And while I hear that, and your points are well taken and very much along the lines of what I was thinking, but we had this discussion several times when people come before us, and depending on where you want to draw the line in the sand, if you go back all the way to 1916, if we'd have drawn the line in the sand, most of the people that live down there, including yourself, would not have houses down there. So, to Eric's point, it is within the guidelines that we have before him, and they're there for a reason.
And theoretically, someone could put 20 units there, the way it stands right now.
Yeah.
Or for that matter, even if it wasn't replatted, someone could put something there that has multiple units on it.
Well, and, case in point is.
And I don't think they should. I don't think they should, but.
Actually, they couldn't, because it's Zone D2. That 5 units an acre is the land use designation. They have to meet the requirements of both.
Okay.
Right. And to your point, too, the
That's why
property.
I was asking that.
The property across the canal is condos, and there's, I don't know how many are in there. Do you know how many, roughly?
15 units an acre, as I recall.
And that's right across the canal, and that's, I don't know, how old is that development?
15 plus.
15, yeah. So I kind of concur with Councilmember Seidel. So it meets all the requirements. They're not asking for anything. We come across this on a lot of different things, not just houses, that we set rules up for a reason. And if you want to do something different, you apply for a variance, and then that's where it comes before us again, and so on and so forth.
That's why we tried to buy it.
Yeah, we did. We bid on it once and lost to this gentleman, and then, to somebody else, and then she sold it. That's right, to the previous owner. And then it just happened so fast the second time that we couldn't even get our bid in, in time. So it was a cash deal that closed fast, so at any rate. Any other comments by council?
No.
Before we vote, Mayor, can I just do a clarification? It's not 4.3 acres.
It's 4.1, it's 4 point, it's,
If you count all the water, it's not even an acre and a half of land.
okay.
So by saying it's going to be an acre for each home, that's not true. It's less
I
than.
can you come up to the podium? I typically wouldn't do this because this is a public hearing. We already closed it.
This is important. It's not they own a lot of into the water, because I'm a neighbor and I own into the water, okay? So that's part of my acreage, but the actual land is less than an acre and a half. So to say that each house is gonna have an acre of land, that's not true.
Okay, but the same argument applies to your property and other people's, that part of your land that is, people are saying.
The three of us that are on the canal, that's true.
Okay, so I mean,
on
the same
canal.
argument applies equally to everybody that's on the
Right,
canal.
but it was just kind of misleading to think, oh, each house is gonna be on an acre. It's not 4.3, it's less than an acre and a half, so it's gonna be,
Right,
yeah.
but it's a minimum of 16,000.
No, I understand all you guys' points. We're here just wanting to.
Yeah, no, I get it.
You know.
And it's 16,000 some odd, your point's well taken, thank you. It's 16,000 some odd, which is 0.32 acres, you know, and you, like you said, or design, it could be 5, but I don't think with the velocity zone, they'd be able to get all that in there, so, at any rate, so, any other discussion from council?
No.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Seidel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Saraki?
Yes.
Mayor Beavis?
Aye.
Medi Holdings LLC plat located at 520 Oakwood Boulevard, resulting in 3 single-family lots, is approved with 3 votes for and 0 against.
And for those in attendance, as the city attorney mentioned, I would just monitor this and for any activity and moving forward. So that's all. We don't have a time frame, so I would just monitor the activity and with the Planning and Redevelopment Office and see what's going on. So thank you. Next.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Item 12, approved contract with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office for law enforcement services for FY 2017-18. As you're well aware, the new fiscal year starts October 1. The contract with the Sheriff's Office for the upcoming year is in the amount of $1,662,782. It provides for the same staffing that is currently in place with the Sheriff's Office. This represents about a 3% increase over the current year. With us this evening is Captain Jack Peterson, who's the North District Commander. I recommend approval of the contract for 2017-18.
Thank you. Good evening, Captain. How are you?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I'm doing good, thank you.
All right.
Got anything to tell sheriffs? Anything changing? You guys do a great job. Please don't take our CPOs. Is that part of the contract that they have to leave them in place?
Well,
We just got to stop the hugging that happens.
I didn't bring it up. You did, for the record.
No, but I wanted to show up today. We appreciate the opportunity to serve the residents of Oldsmar. And if anybody does have any questions, I'd be here to answer anything.
I don't, and I mean, I say this before, and we've had this dialogue when we've had our lunches and things. It's amazing to me sometimes, with the exception of some of the bigger cities like Clearwater and St. Petersburg, but it still amazes me that people think it's cost effective to have their own police department as opposed to having all the resources of the Pinellas County Sheriffs. And I know they have agreements with you for other backup duties and things like that they pay into. But I mean, if Mr. Beaverland was here, he would tell you the historical story about, you know, how much it was costing us and how much it realistically saves us by instead of running our own, you know, department. And you guys just do a great job, so.
On behalf of Jerry, I want to thank you because you did get that in there.
I got that in there for you. But it was a short one. It was a short historical lesson, but we all know that, and I don't, even some of these smaller ones, I think Tennessee City has their own, don't they?
they do.
So I don't understand how it's cost effective, but anyway, preaching to the choir, I'm sure.
We like to hear that, and we hope we are providing a quality product for you folks.
I guess I have a question. Is that very common that local county, do they do it? Well, Hillsborough doesn't really have any. You got Temple Terrace and that. So, I mean, in other counties, we're unique because we have 24 municipalities within the county, but is that something that happens in other municipalities that you're aware of where they contract with the sheriff or what have you?
I mean, they all have that ability, and I mean, like you just said, there's 24 municipalities in Pinellas County. We're responsible for 14 of those. And had we not taken on those type of services, our department would have shrank because of everybody annexing the different city municipalities. But it's been a very good working relationship, and again, I hope we're attentive to what your concerns and needs are. And
you very much are, and I joke about the CPOs, but they do a really good job of responding to not only residents' issues, but issues, as you know, we've had a couple of issues recently that are still ongoing, and they're very responsive and communicate very well with the city and the council. So it makes our jobs a lot easier when we're kind of up to speed. We're tracking with you instead of looking like a deer in the headlights when somebody comes to us. So thanks to your guys and the leadership from above for providing that. So any questions of the captain?
I'd have a couple questions. So I see in the agreement that it's gone up by 3% from the previous year. What did it go up the year prior?
About this, was it about the
Was
same?
it the same?
I think it was about the
Pretty
same.
minor. I
2
would
point
say
something?
approximately the same.
Oh, it was 2 something.
Al's out there giving you.
Al, 2, yeah, I thought it was 2 something.
It was 2%?
What's up, Al? How are you? Power? Yeah, peace. I don't know what that.
Al already has his contract approved. He's like, I don't remember how many it was.
I thought it was 2. I thought it was right around the 2%.
Because if it's 2 to 3, I mean, that actually over 10 years, it's a 30% increase. It's not cheap, right? So what are the reasons for the increase? Because I know we're not getting additional officers, correct?
Correct, but I mean, where it comes down to is the salaries. You know, there was a 5-year stint with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, starting in 2008, that salaries were frozen, and nobody saw that, as well as contributions having to be made to the Florida retirement system. And again, everybody probably should have that portion to keep it viable. But then it's just, you know, I know Julie Upman is the one who negotiates the contracts, and it's a question that comes up every year. You know, Dunedin wants to know, did Oldsmar get the same as Safety Harbor, that St. Pete Beach?
That's on one of my questions, so.
With that being said, they bring all the factors together, so that is a fair, I mean, because they're all going to speak to one another, and they're going to say, hey, what's going on? Why didn't they get this? Or, you know, why are we getting hit with this?
Well, I don't have a problem with an increase that takes place specifically, not specifically, that would be too narrow of a scope, but really geared at providing some raises and better compensation, because I think our officers there is a quality factor.
Well, and I think just the cost of being able to provide the services outside of the staff and pensions and all that. Just
3% over 10 years is 30%. That's not a reasonable increase. Right. That's why I asked, was it 2%? So that it does fluctuate. That's a $500,000 because it's a $50,000 increase.
Right. Right. Sure.
I mean, you know, kind of.
Well, yeah, but even Saturday night, your team did a great job.
Oh, yeah.
Saturday, Friday at the festival, Celebrate Oldsmar, they were great. So thank you all.
We had the 2 CPOs come out on the pier and experience the concussions that were going on out there. So I think she liked it. It was pretty cool, wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, I know they're getting geared up for tomorrow. I just left John Chestnut Park, and we had to close the park at 3 o'clock because they just had their 5th delivery of the sand, and they'd gone through 4,000 sandbags already. Oh, wow. So it was utter chaos till we got over there, and I know we've already got the people in place for tomorrow morning starting at 7 o'clock.
Okay, good, thank you. I didn't realize you had an issue over at John Chestnut, so that's what we like about it. You're kind of thinking ahead like Radar O'Reilly, huh?
Incoming.
Yeah, so incoming. Thank you. Any other questions?
Nope.
Nope. Need a motion? Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 3-0. Thank you, Captain. Good to see you.
Thank you. Mayor and council, the next item, approve renewal of use agreement with Oldsmar BMX 1645 Incorporated. This is an annual agreement. It will run from October 1 to September 30th of 2018. The only change to the agreement is that we would be picking up an increased share of the electricity for the concession stand restroom. Our share would go from 50% to 75%. And that's primarily to help out with the fact that the number of participants is still below what it was prior to reconstruction of the track, although that's been about 2 years ago now. Also, we'd like to take this opportunity to give you an update about activities at the BMX track, and our Leisure Services Director, Felicia Donald.
Is this the council member race? Yeah.
Music to it, huh? That's me going real high there. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Got it.
Very nice.
Very nice.
That is so funny you showed that. I finally figured out how to make my smart TV hook to my Wi-Fi. I sat and watched about 6 Oldsmar BMX videos for Sundays, and that was one of them. It's pretty impressive.
really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
What, on YouTube?
Exciting.
Yeah, on YouTube. Well, I typed in Oldsmar and then that BMX popped up, so I saw those. So
That's cool.
yeah.
Yeah, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to share the video that was produced by Visit St. Pete Clearwater, really for our trip to Rock Hill to showcase the track. So just a couple of numbers to recap for you all. We hosted the Gator Nationals in February. We had 749 riders from 19 different countries. We also hosted an Oldsmar BMX State Championship race in June with about 100 statewide riders. We've hosted summer camp. This year we expanded to 3 weeks. We had about 18 riders a week. And then we had a winter camp that had 11 riders. And so that we continue to partner with Oldsmar BMX 1645 to provide the recreation services. So they're open every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday night. And right now they have about 250 registered riders according to USA BMX to date in 2017. So I thought I would share those stats with you while you have their agreement in front of you.
Do you know what they peaked at prior to?
No.
Roughly? Okay. I know we're trying to, and we got some upcoming, hopefully, events that we may be hosting as well. Obviously, the Gator Nationals for next year, so that's exciting. It continues to grow. What's the feedback from the people that use the track? I mean, I know we went through a little bit of a rough time with the clays and all that for a while, but it seems like it's finally to a point where now we can work on the rest of the park too, aesthetically.
Yeah, we're actually getting really good feedback from a couple of things that we've recently done the last few months. One is the shade shelters. The shade structures were a huge hit, and it's amazing how much shade they provide. I was out there yesterday, and all of the seating is covered.
Oh, great.
And then the other thing is the renovation of the first jump.
So Amateur Hill, yeah.
Yes, so we've gotten a lot of good feedback from that. We were getting some not so good feedback, so that seems to have gone away with that renovation.
It seemed like some of the younger kids that don't have the upper body strength or the body strength, the bikes got a little jiggly wiggly on them when they hit that first thing, and they couldn't control it when they hit, was kind of what I was gathering. They would wipe out and get hurt. So are they actually I don't know if it was Bruce that told, not this Bruce, but Bruce out there told me that the stands are going to be elevated, raised at some point to be even closer and to give a better sight line. Do we know how high they're going to raise them? Is that the case, or?
I do know that we're going to raise them 3 feet. I know that because the shade structures are 3 feet taller
Than
they actually need to be.
Okay.
When I met with the contractor, first off, I looked at the CIP and I saw it's an out year, a couple of years from now, to raise the bleachers. And with those shade structures, they're such substantial supports that you really can't add on. So that's why they look a little high now, is because they're really built for when we raise the bleachers 3 feet, they'll be exactly the right height.
Cool.
I think the way they look when you go by, it's just so impressive.
It's cool.
I
think to put each of our council member names on each one of the ones as you drive down Tampa Road is a great idea. Or did I dream that? I think.
That was when you were watching the video.
That's what it was. My bad, sorry. Awesome. Any questions?
No.
Motion to
Excited.
approve?
Yeah.
So, good. Just another thing to the Oldsmar Sports Complex. Need anything else, or you need a motion?
Just a motion.
Make a
motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Again, 3-0.
Thank you. Mayor and council, item 14, this will be a public hearing on Resolution 2017-11, adopting a tentative millage rate for fiscal year 2017-2018. In July, the council authorized the city manager to complete the certification of taxable value, indicating a proposed millage rate of 4.05 mils. That information was provided to each taxpayer as part of the trim notice, which they received from the property appraiser last month. I'll read the resolution. This is Resolution 2017-11, a resolution of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, setting the tentative millage levy for the City of Oldsmar for the year beginning October 1, 2017 and ending September 30, 2018. Whereas the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida has reviewed the proposed appropriations for the City of Oldsmar for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2017 and ending September 30, 2018. And whereas in accordance with the law, the Pinellas County Property Appraiser has certified to the city of Oldsmar a rollback millage rate of 3.918 mils, and whereas the proposed millage rate is greater than the rollback rate by 3.37%. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, in session duly and regularly assembled as follows. 1, that the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida hereby sets the millage rate for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2017 and ending September 30, 2018 at 4.05 mils. 2, that this resolution shall become effective immediately upon adoption. That's the reading of Resolution 2017-11. I recommend its adoption.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Does anybody on this side of the room like to address the council? No. Okay, thank you. Anybody on this side of the room like to address the council? Seeing no one, will close the public hearing. For discussion purposes, I need a motion.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion on this? I think it's
great that we're not increasing it. We haven't in years and years. I mean, there isn't an impact, effective impact of the increase in property value.
Yeah.
But I think that's good for our city in the sense that I do believe we need to get to a point where we establish some kind of goal and we say, okay, anytime we hit this reserve number, when we go through the property values and so forth, that we start to look at what the effective rate is. And but I wouldn't be a fan of that until we're well reserved. We have this storm glooming out there, and something I talk about all the time.
Yep.
And so anyhow, that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, anything?
No, all good.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Saraki, Seidel,
I know, we look alike. Yes.
I wish I had his hair.
Yeah.
Saraki,
Yes.
Mayor Beavis.
Aye.
Resolution on 2011-11 adopting the tentative millage rate for fiscal year 2017-18 is adopted with 3 votes for and 0 against.
Thank you. The next item is also a public hearing. This is on Resolution 2017-12, adopting the tentative budget for FY 2017-2018. The proposed budget for next year was presented to City Council on July 14th, and the council conducted a budget work session on August 11th of this year. I would point out that under Florida law, the adoption of the budget and the millage rate are separate votes, and also there will be public hearings again on both the millage rate and the budget 2 weeks from tonight. Those final public hearings will be on Tuesday, September 19th, here in the council chamber, also at 7 p.m. I'll read the resolution. This is Resolution 2017-12. A resolution of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, adopting the tentative budget appropriations for the City of Oldsmar for the year beginning October 1, 2017 and ending September 30, 2018. Whereas the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida has reviewed the proposed appropriations for the City of Oldsmar for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2017 and ending September 30, 2018. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, in session duly and regularly assembled as follows. 1, that the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, does hereby tentatively establish the appropriations for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2017 and ending September 30, 2018 as follows. See attached Schedule A, pages 1 to 7. General Fund, $14,480,740. Public Safety Impact Fund, $42,000. Parkland Dedication Fund, $70,500. Multimodal Impact Fund, $45,500. Community Redevelopment Agency, $687,000. Debt Service, Veterans Memorial Park, $171,810. Capital Improvement Fund, $9,325,000. Water and Sewer Operating Fund, $9,024,500. Water and Sewer Impact Fund, $148,000. Stormwater Utility Fund, $855,500. Solid Waste Fund, $2,719,215. Total budget appropriations, $37,569,765. Section 2, all purchase orders for materials and services that remain open at year-end FY 16-17 are to become supplemental appropriations in the respective departmental accounts in the fiscal year ending September 30, 2018 unless canceled. 3, that this resolution shall become effective immediately upon adoption. That is the reading of Resolution 2017-12. I recommend its adoption. There is a public hearing required.
This is a public hearing. Does anybody wish to address the council on this item? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Motion for discussion.
So move.
Second.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion on this item? Again, great work by staff for another budget and, you know, as previously done, the millage rate. So that, as we've talked in the past, I don't know that we're going to be able to continue to maintain the millage rate that we have. At some point, we probably may have to adjust it, but luckily we've been able to maintain that. And as you mentioned, home values continue to go up, which have helped us. We'll see how the homestead affects us, but that's great. I'm looking forward to it. So we got a motion and a second. If no other discussion, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Seidel.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Saraki.
Yes.
Mayor Beavis.
Aye.
Resolution 2017-12, adopting tentative budget for fiscal year 2017-18 is adopted with 3 votes for and 0 against.
Thank you. Mayor and council, the next item, update on local mitigation strategy, will be presented by Marie Dauphiné, our Planning and Redevelopment Director.
I told Bruce today that I know we do this once a year, but I swear it just seems like you did this 6 months ago.
Yeah, it's the annual update, and I thought, you know, this is not a good time, actually. Maybe it is a good time.
Yeah.
To let you know what we've been doing. So Pinellas County and the 24 municipalities, including Oldsmar, get together monthly, and they discuss, you know, projects or initiatives that can be implemented to prevent or protect the citizens and property in Pinellas County. So examples of these initiatives are major drainage improvements, hardening of public structures, EOC purchases, and educational outreach projects. The mitigation strategy is updated annually, and there's a major update every 5 years. We did one in 2015, so we have 3 more years to go. And in order to get grant funding, we need to have this mitigation strategy. And so we were able to get a flood mitigation grant for reconstruction of a home on Shore Drive. I'm just going to focus on Oldsmar's completed projects. There were storm shutters at the Municipal Services Center and the wastewater plant and pump station, Vollmer Road drainage improvements, Harbor Palm and Sellers Industrial Park drainage improvements, the City Hall generator replacement, and just recently the windows at City Hall were replaced. Ongoing projects are we enforce the drainage regulations, we protect the preservation of land, and the stormwater management master plan. It's a 10-year update, so we're working on that now. We also receive CRS points. This counts as our floodplain management plan, so we were able to garner points for our community rating system application. And some of the future projects are St. Petersburg Drive drainage improvements, Douglas Road drainage improvements, Municipal Service Center window replacement, Shore Drive East drainage improvements, State Street ditch reconstruction, and Harbor Palms drainage improvements. So we need to provide that to the county and the LMS working group, and they include that in the appendix so that, you know, in the event that we have a disaster or a flooding event or whatever, we will be able to use, you know, federal grant money to help us complete some of these projects if they're in the LMS.
Thank you. That's pretty short.
Yeah.
We got a lot of questions though for you.
Yeah.
We really do. You want to start, Eric?
Yeah, I'm going to think about it for a while, but right now I don't, so you're good.
Thank you. Thanks. You don't need any action from us? Nope.
I don't think they have to vote on it, do they? It's
No,
presented
presented it
at a
to you.
public meeting, and later it was
Submitted for the
presented to
record?
the media as well.
Submitted for the record? Yep. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Anything else?
That's it for me tonight.
Thank you, City Clerk.
Item number 17, adopt resolution 2017-10, setting the qualifying period for the March 13th, 2018 municipal election. The qualifying dates will start October 17th at 8 o'clock in the morning and end November 17th at 5 o'clock in the evening. And at this point, it's for seats 1 and 3. I'll read resolution 2017-10 by title only. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Oldsmar establishing the candidate qualifying period for the March 13th, 2018 election and providing for the effective date hereof. I recommend the adoption of resolution 2017-10.
Thank you. Need a motion?
So moved?
Second?
Second.
Any discussion on this item?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 3-0. Thank you. Anything else?
Oh, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Next is City Council. Item 18, approve the excused absence of Council Member Gabby McGee. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Any comments, discussions?
Yes, I'm jealous.
I want to know where that right foot was on that one picture where she was hanging on the cliff.
I saw
Yeah,
That right foot had to be on something, because if she really wanted to do it, she'd have done it one-handed, you know. Did you see the picture?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. She was so sweet. Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. 3-0. Thank you. Next is comments by council member, and we'll start with council member Eric Seidel, because I believe he's got some exciting news.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a couple of items. One is just something I wanted to throw out there. I am in the Leadership for Knowledge program this year, and I had the opportunity to meet with one of the classmates who's from the Pinellas Sheriff's Office, and they, interested in discussion, brought something up to me that I thought would be interesting to mention, perhaps maybe for our businesses who might be willing to allow their place of business to be used. And that is, it appears that from time to time they have a challenge with finding different locations, businesses specifically, to train the canines. And the way that typically works is a business will volunteer to allow their facility to be used. I asked, what's the drawback to it? And the obvious drawback is, he said, well, they are dogs. So sometimes there might be a little cleaning to do, but normally that's not the case. But I thought I'd mention it because we have quite a few businesses here in Oldsmar, and just put it out there for people to consider that it's something that is a need that would be good for us to help
Are they looking
fill.
for different types of venues to expose the dogs to
Yeah,
different
as I understand it, they
atmospheres?
are, and I think it's a little bit of training where they'll even put the lights out and bring them in there, and, you know, so a new environment after they've done training back at the facility, kind of growing their skills.
Sure.
So anyhow, I thought it would be worth mentioning here in Oldsmar.
How about, did they indicate how, I know you probably don't have a lot, but I mean, how long of a period of time do they need?
It depends how fast the dog is. I have no idea, Mr. Mayor. I made that up.
I figured you did.
In case you didn't know that.
You're so funny.
I'm
Said no-
tired,
said
man.
no one
I'm
ever.
tired. Let's see. I did want to make the council aware of this. This is kind of a follow-up to our Florida League of Cities meeting, and we've talked about it here on council before, and that is some of the things that's happening to home rule, specifically with the legislature and what we witnessed last year. And for those who aren't real familiar what that home rule stands for, it's the ability of cities to really govern themselves on the local issues. And what there's a growing trend has been to preempt cities from being able to determine what happens locally in a lot of areas that we've always done. And that I think the mass of cities have been successful in doing things the right way because their citizens hold them accountable, right? And so it's just something that, you know, we talked a little bit about trying to do more of an educational program to really get the word out, because kind of the word is that in the next session, there's going to be more proposed, specifically in the area of going after CRAs. I reached out to Representative Grant and requested to have a meeting with him to share with them all the good things that our CRA has done and explain to him why it's really important to the city of Oldsmar. And also, you know, understand at least, and I speak for myself as one of the locally elected officials, but, you know, it's important that you support us, and not so important that you know, when you stood here and told us you were voting against some of the things because of the city of, you know, in Miami or wherever, Miami Beach, I think it was, you don't represent them. You know, we need you to be our voice when you're there, but not in a threatening way, but more just in a, you know, really understanding how important some of these things are to us. So when the speaker goes to him, you know.
I agree.
That there is going to be repercussions from it. I sat in on a conference call that the Florida League had last week, talking about some different strategies. I'll send out the email because they had some technical difficulties halfway through. And
I was on that call
were
too.
you?
Yeah.
And so in any event, I wanted to mention that I am intended to meet with
Good.
Representative Grant and share with them. And I think we should consider other things that we can do as council members. I know the city can't do it per se, but where we should really make an effort to educate what's going on. Most of our citizens don't know it. They live in a city because they like that home rule. They like being able to see us in the grocery store, or for that matter, showing up at your house, you know? And so you lose some of that. And it's really a crime. And I just think, you know, we get with the local media and really explain to them the impact it has. But I don't know if there's a way for us to kind of organize a concerted effort. But I think we should really take charge of doing so.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I'm sure everybody feels the same way. I was not happy when Jamie Grant came and spoke to us with his logic and reasoning behind not only that, but homestead exemption and the like. And I agree with you. And you represent this city. And, you know, don't say that because we're the exception and Safety Harbor is the exception that, you know, I think we mentioned at the thing, fix the cities that are abusing it or not doing it properly or whatever the case may be, but don't punish the ones that are doing well, because it is a good thing for home rule. You know, we heard it in Orlando at the Florida League of Cities. Everybody concurred that the best governing is the closest to the people, which is the local elected officials. And Jack has mentioned it. I think he mentioned it at the Florida League of Cities, that it seems like Tallahassee is becoming more like Washington, D.C., and it's, you know, they seem to be, a lot of them, falling in line with the Speaker of the House for whatever reasons. For political posturing is the only thing that I can think of, and they don't really care what we think about. So
Well, maybe at the next council meeting, especially because we'll have all the council members here, maybe we come under council comments with some ideas of people taking up different things to go work on. So there is some kind of effort made, it's organized. One going out, maybe you talking to media and you know, different, you know, there's a lot of materials to use from the league.
Yeah.
That helps clearly explain some of the issues. And so I think that we should probably use those tools.
We need those talking points in the tools.
Be proactive.
Because it was clear at the Florida League of Cities which was a lot of local elected officials from throughout the state, the overwhelming consensus was leave home rule alone, you know, fix the problem. So.
The next thing I had, Mr. Mayor, is Celebrate Oldsmar was awesome, wasn't it? It was so good. They were really good. Did our fireworks go longer than normal?
They were 19 minutes, he told me. We had a little bit of a lull.
There was a little break in between. They might have had like maybe a fuse wasn't long enough or something.
The pauses were a little bit longer.
Yeah,
so
Deputy
the entire
Caccolo tripped over a wire out there, and
I had a feeling. But it was great, and I too want to take a moment to say thank you to the staff who goes out there and works the event. And it does not go unnoticed or underappreciated. So thank you for all your work that you've done on it. Hurricane planning. I won't get on my soapbox for long. But just, you know, if there's any way to get the message to our folks that this storm's nothing to play with, you know, if it looks like it's coming our way and you're in an area to evacuate, leave. You know what, houses can be replaced, lives can't. Objects are just that, they're objects that can be bought again with insurance money, but it's just not worth. I mean, we've all watched what's happened in Houston. You know, I grew up down in Miami and watched Andrew and the impact of that. I am telling you, it is frightening to live it. I'm in evacuation zone E, which basically means if the weather sneezes, we have to leave. I mean, it's, you know, they're on the water, we're leaving. You know, I mean, it's mandatory. But my point is, I just hope that everyone really has spent the time to have a plan and make sure you stick to your plan. And even if you leave to be safe and nothing happens, that is the best outcome. So don't feel like it was a loss if that happens. Don't wait too late, because I'd hate to see any of our people get hurt. And the very last thing I have, I'm now a grandfather. I was trying to get pictures put up on the screen, but I couldn't get it. I just got back a couple hours ago. So last night,
What's the name?
The name is Eric James Seidel. My son surprised me. I didn't know that he was given my first name.
Awesome.
But my son's name is Eric William John Seidel, and my name is Eric William John Seidel. And my father's name is Eric Alfred Seidel. I don't know when that happened.
A kind of a running pattern.
But anyhow, so
So the name him Bob Seidel.
really,
probably
really
wouldn't.
excited. You know, 8 pounds, 2 ounces.
Congratulations.
Healthy boy.
Congratulations.
Mom's good.
Good job.
Mom's good. I didn't want to come back. I can't lie. It's the first council meeting I really wanted to miss.
I'm sure.
But I didn't. I came. That's it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vice Mayor?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. First of all, I just want to mention that I reached out to Senator Grant, or House Representative Grant, and I believe it's on the 22nd. I have it at my office. He just got in contact with me for coffee. So maybe we can go together.
Can't
Oh,
go
you can't?
together.
No.
Can't, oh, that's
No.
right.
Yeah, that's the problem. Otherwise, I would have said we should all
Yeah,
go
all
tag
right.
team.
Yeah, after he left the council, the meeting, I contacted.
Couldn't all
him.
say no fast enough.
Yeah, that's right. Forgot about that. But yeah, so I'm also want to meet with him for the, being the advocate for the Suncoast League of Cities for home rule. So I'll be meeting with him. The second thing I wanted to talk about is, I gave you some information on Tag Tampa Bay Transportation, the advocacy group. And this is something that the Suncoast League of Cities is adopting a resolution, all the cities, the local cities in Hillsborough, Pinellas, and Pasco County. And I've been working with Ann on this for the last couple of weeks. And I met with Bruce and Al today and reviewed with them, and they wanted me to share this information with you. The city of Largo has already supported this initiative for transportation with all the regional councils. I believe, Mayor, you're on quite a few of them. I'm only on one of them. I'm only on the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council. I believe you're on the other ones. But it's just basically that we support, Suncoast League of Cities supports transportation coming together to better improve the quality of life in Pinellas County and Hillsborough County and Pasco County. And that's really all this is. And I'd like to put this on the agenda next week if possible.
How about the week after next?
Oh, yeah, 2 weeks, sure.
So I think you would like the city attorney to prepare a resolution, and that would be considered for adoption at the next meeting on September 15th.
Is that a consensus, Eric?
I believe so.
Okay, I do as well.
Yes. I gave Tom a copy also.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think they're trying to do a lot more of that, to have Hillsborough and Pinellas and Pasco, but to what extent they will, to work together and show that we're kind of all reading for the same sheet music. Because the message from Tallahassee that I always hear on the different boards I'm on is that they don't know what the heck Tampa Bay area wants, because we're all running in different directions. So the more collectively we can work together, the better. So that's great. Okay.
And one of the things I came across, I went to the Suncoast League of Cities, I wanted to share with you, is the biggest problem is with the Suncoast League of Cities here in Pinellas County, is when we go to Tallahassee, an example was last year when we went, we're not communicating with the other League of Cities around the state. So when they go to Tallahassee, our voices are not being heard together. So we're working on that before the session starts this year, that the Suncoast, Pasco's League of Cities, and whoever else is involved, that we're all communicating and making sure that we present ourselves together for home rule, that we go up there and don't waste our time. I just wanted to communicate with that. The other thing is, I also attended the medical marijuana presentation. I got there after city council last meeting early in the morning, and I sent you guys a PowerPoint presentation to everyone on the council this morning, just to look at it. And what I'd like to do is suggest that we have either a work session or bring that also up so that we can discuss how our city will move forward with medical marijuana.
Aren't we working towards that, Tom?
Well, we need direction from the city council at this point. You know, the law changed at the end of June.
Right.
We had been, internally, I think, preparing an ordinance that would basically regulate,
right,
where it can be located, what type of building it would be in, what type of security measures, what type of parking queuing, what type of signs, and all those different things. But when the special session ended, there was the adoption of this ordinance, or the statute that basically said that you can't do anything other than ban it outright, or treat it like pharmacies, and not have it within 500 feet of a school. So there are your options. Ban it completely. By the way, City of Dunedin is banning it completely. Or treat it like pharmacies, and basically you don't have to do anything. If you wanted to change your ordinance to reflect that, we're going to treat it like pharmacies, you can, but it's otherwise preempted by the state. So,
And to that point, I guess Dunedin banned it, but Safety Harbor, the old, what is it, Sungroves, I think? Sungroves over there on 580 is set to be,
Is that what that's going to?
yeah, it's going to be a medical marijuana facility,
Well, it's going to be a dispensary.
or whatever you call it, yeah.
Right. And also at the presentation, I met with Nick, I guess it's Monte. He was the vice president of Sunterra, which is in Tampa. I went up to him after the presentation and I asked him if it was possible, if we wanted to take a tour of the facilities in Tampa of the dispensary, we could do that. And also, he would be willing to do that. So to show you guys. I met with him after the presentation.
Okay.
So that's open to the council if we want to do that for educational purposes, besides just the PowerPoint presentations.
And I guess to Tom's point, we originally put the moratorium in because we were also waiting to see kind of what Pinellas County did, but based on what you're saying is they're under the same guidelines that all of us now fall under, so.
county and the cities are
Lower
under the
60,
same
so,
guideline.
yeah.
So I had talked to the vice mayor about this before, a couple of days ago, and I think it would be important for you to give some direction to me as to, what exactly you wanted to do, and I'd be happy to work with Maria in providing a presentation to you and giving you the law, giving you, our ideas, our thoughts relative to either banning it or not banning it. But I need something to work with from the council.
I think it'd be worth actually having a work session and you doing that, because this
I do
issue is going to be on our doorstep quickly. Maybe there are some things that we can do besides banning. If it has to be treated as a pharmacy, perhaps we change our rules for pharmacies and moving forward.
Well, you basically treat them like any other retail establishment. So you would have to pull out pharmacies directly. And for example, you may want to adopt or change your zoning code in certain zoning districts to only allow pharmacies or to ban pharmacies in certain areas, and then you could ban the dispensaries as well in those certain areas. But I think that when you see, and the vice mayor may have some comments on that, but there's all sorts of data out there that's already saying you only need one of these things with the population between every 67,000 people need one dispensary. And how close is the local dispensary? Dunedin made a decision that since there was one within 4 miles, that was sufficient enough to allow them to have whatever patients that they have, go to that dispensary, which by the way is by Countryside Mall. It's right between the Ford dealership and Countryside Mall, if you want to know the one that's in Clearwater. So I'm not sure that, the distance of that is, but.
Well, Sungroves is going to be even closer than that,
Yeah,
it's right across the bridge.
Right, and so you may, with that in mind, maybe that's close enough.
I think a workshop would be great to kind of paint the picture for us as to
dig in.
what it looks
in. I
like.
mean,
And
Yeah, at the end of the seminar.
It overwhelmingly passed in Oldsmar, like 76%. I know it was a higher percentage in the state, so that can't be ignored.
Yeah,
That's the use of medical marijuana.
No, I understand that. I'm talking about having access and so forth. I mean, obviously, it's not something that our citizens.
But if they have access to it
Right.
reasonably, is there a time frame that,
Before our moratorium runs out.
okay, do we know what that is? Any idea?
Remember?
Roughly?
I don't remember the date.
I'm not sure, but if the consensus is to have a work session, I would we would put that on the next agenda, particularly since 2 members are absent tonight.
Yeah.
So that would be the item.
Okay,
you go.
that's fine, yeah.
right.
And maybe we
Find
can
out when
also
the
find out.
moratorium runs out.
We can find out when the moratorium runs out, so.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yes.
Okay. You're having a
Pinellas-
baby?
No. Pinellas County Job Corps, Martin, I sent him an email this morning, and he basically told me that he wanted me to share with the council and you, Mayor, that he wants to wait till after the storm.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay. And next, I want to thank Felicia for a great job with Celebrate Oldsmar. I think that was your first big event. It was great. Fireworks were fantastic, and thank you to you and your staff and all the volunteers that you had working. It was a great event. And on September 19th, I want to invite the public to make sure that you come to City Council. The Florida League of Cities is going to be here presenting us with the Spirit Award. We need to show them
Some spirit.
spirit. We have spirit. All the neighbors come out, and Bruce is leaving. It's his last day. Come out and say goodbye to Bruce.
It's his last day.
His last
Got an
meeting.
extra 10 days of vacation coming.
His last meeting. And then, as Eric said, I'll be safe with the hurricane. I'm a little concerned about this one. I've been a weather guy since I was a little kid, and I don't like this one, but that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. I only have a couple of comments. I would like to welcome the Blacks. Welcome, Judy. It's so nice to see you again. Yeah, we've always been worrying about you, and Gator's been keeping us up to date, so we're glad that you're here. So I echo Eric's comments. I think if you watched any of the coverage of Harvey in Houston and the surrounding areas, the overwhelming word from the powers to be all the way up to the top, we're listening to your local officials or your local reports, Pinellas County, our local emergency operations center, because it's different for every area. So,
Mayor, can I?
Yeah.
And I don't normally do this, but I'm going to ask this because I'm really concerned about it. My sister and brother-in-law live in St. Croix, and they're right about now getting hit with it as a Category 5. So if y'all could keep them in your prayers, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. I mean, we got a lot of people that live down in there, and it doesn't look the greatest, like you said, though, but you can replace everything else or relocate or whatever you need to do, rebuild, but you can't avoid loss of life. And I did hear that in Houston and the surrounding areas that a lot of it was for the same things that they continue to say is don't drive into water where you don't know what's in there. And that's where a lot of them, including one of the police officers, lost their lives. He flooded his car and got out, and it got swept away. So they're telling you that for a reason. So definitely listen to your local representatives, and we'll try and do our best to keep you up to date. I think we'll know, as the chief said, within the next 24 to 48 hours, 36 hours, we'll have a better idea of what it's going to do. I think at any point, no matter what happens, we're going to get, and I can watch this morning on the news, they're saying, don't follow the line of the proposed storm, but look at the width of the affected area and the winds, and there's going to be some damage that goes along with that. So we'll try and keep you up to date the best we can. The sandbag's open tomorrow at 7 a.m.
Yes.
And thank you to Captain Peterson. It was that we'll have some control out there. I saw tonight that the people at the gas pumps are, already getting into fisticuffs and, fights over who got to the pump first. So, just be patient and take your time. A lot of the stores are out of water, but they're getting new shipments. You continue to see that more trucks will be coming and bringing things like that. So, and also thanks to Felicia and the staff. They did a great job. I think Bruce and I were talking, and Felicia and I mean, the band shell just looks great with that box gone off of there. I can't believe it took so long, but the white inside of it really made it pop, the lighting and the murals. But it really just did a bang up job. The entertainment was great, and so onward and upward from here. But that's about all I have, I think. Anybody else got anything?
Well, just to make sure there's no misunderstanding, I think that Councilmember Saraki is in evacuation zone A.
He is, or Seidel? Seidel.
Councilmember Seidel is.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Isn't it? Didn't they rename it E?
I think E is.
Maybe
or
that's
something
a
like
flood
that?
zone or something, but I think you're in evacuation zone A.
I know it's right off
You're the
bat.
first to go.
Yeah, if your sprinklers are on too long, you gotta
C.
go.
Right?
My house is C.
Yeah,
Reclaim water on my street, that's for sure.
yeah, so, thanks. And, so,
We wouldn't want your neighbors hanging around thinking they're in E.
I think they renamed it EE or something.
I don't know,
Like,
but-
it's even more crazier than an A, I don't.
yeah, get out fast.
But thank you, Bruce. I'm coming over to your house, so.
Yeah, I'm in a B.
I know.
I'm across Tampa Road at least, so.
Oh, listen, I'm
What are
coming to
you,
your
you're
house.
C too, right?
I don't know what I am.
I think you're C. We're
I'm
both
in
C.
the go upstairs place. So nothing else? If there's nothing else, Tommy, got anything? Nope. Thank you.